Welcome to the COBD Events Podcast. This is your host, Brandon. This podcast will include guest speakers from our roundtable and other things that we want to highlight. I hope you enjoy this presentation. Okay, we hold this meeting from Bowen Island. This is called Nahalahum in the Squamish First Nations. We're proud to host our meeting from there.
Yes, and thank you for coming down to our 35 session. And we have a wonderful guest today from Blind Sports, and it's Sue. And we thank everyone to be here today to learn some ideas for ourselves that we can keep ourselves busy. And we have there's a quick question before I get Sue to come on, and the question is, what do you do to keep yourself busy at home with exercise? And I hear Leona. Can you start right now? And then,
well, when I'm at the stove cooking, I'm there doing my exercises. I'm doing leg lifts. I'm doing, bend down as far as I can. I do kickouts, just wherever the opportunity presents itself.
Oh, thank you. And Vanessa, thank you. Vanessa?
I have a personal trainer who comes to my house once or twice a week. And I also go to kinesiology once a week and I do stuff there. But at home, I have a set of 10-pound weights. And I also got a skipping rope, but it doesn't actually have the rope part. It just has the handles with the tiny nub. So I don't trip on it, and I can use it at home because sometimes I can't get out and walk, but I can skip rope at home. That's what I do.
And Patty, how are you doing? What do you use at home to keep yourself busy? Exercise.
What do I use at home? It's called a Lipico. What it is, it's part of a bike. It's the bottom part of the bike. So I do that. I also use ropes to exercise with now and again, and also use balls.
Oh, wonderful. Mm-hmm. And Robin, are you on today?
Yes, I am, yes.
And I see, how do you get your exercise besides laying in bed?
Embarrassing question.
What do you do?
What do I do?
You must go for a walk around the house.
Well, I do that.
Yeah.
You've got your bike.
I've got an exercise bike that Jill
that's wonderful.
gets me going on that.
There you go.
Yeah, it's rather embarrassing. I should do more.
Shouldn't we all?
At least you're walking.
Yeah.
And Jill, what's your exercise?
Mine is mostly taking the dog for a walk.
That's even better. There you go.
Yeah.
A good exercise.
She needs walking every day.
Get you out of the house. And Brandon?
I have a treadmill that I use.
Good. Well, what I try to do is because I don't have weights, I use my can, and I use that for weightlifting. And I have a chair that I learned from when I was in Blind Sports, that I got a chair, and I used to lift my knee up and down, so it made my knee feel comfortable. And there's little stools that I can go up and down, up and down. That's what I did. And today we have Sue on, and she's from Blind Sports, and I welcome her on. Welcome, Sue. Is it Sue or Susan?
Susan. Either one. Okay. So, hi everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's very nice to be here. You all have great ideas for activities that keeping yourself, busy and moving. Our goal with BC Blind Sport is that movement, whether that's, walking to your mailbox, getting your mail, walking to the store. Maybe some of you join a running club. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, so for those of you that are not aware of BC Blind Sports, BC Blind Sports is a nonprofit organization, and we work with all ages, so from 2 years old to 102, and in any level of program. So it could be a mom and tot program. It could be a senior program in lawn bowling, in whatever sport you choose to do. We'll do our best to help you find that program within your community, or if you need a sighted volunteer to help you, we'll do our best to do that. In talking about volunteers, these days volunteering is really changing. So it's more difficult to find volunteers. It's, in the old days, people, were retiring and they would want something to do, so they would volunteer, or, moms had time when kids were in school, so they'd want to volunteer. A lot of that is changing. A lot of seniors are now working longer. Moms are doing, second jobs to keep finances going. So there's a lot of difference in volunteering. We often get volunteers from the universities and high schools where they have to find so many hours to complete their program. The problem with that is that they only want to do maybe 10 hours and then they're gone, and you got to find somebody new. So it does take time to find a volunteer for you if you choose to go that route, but a lot of the times we are successful. In signing you up with a volunteer, what would happen if I did find a volunteer for you? I would have a meeting with them. I would go through a screening process such as criminal record checks, an interview with me, reference checks. And then what I would do is I would say, okay, Mr. Smith, come on in. I found a volunteer. We're going to meet, and you're going to meet the volunteer, and you guys get to meet and talk to each other. Then you go away. And then I have a conversation with each of you and say, how did you feel about the meeting? Are you interested still? And if they're still interested and it's a go, then I always recommend that you meet in a mutual place. I never send a volunteer to your home or give them your phone number or anything for your safety, because we are dealing with a vulnerable population. And we know that you're adults, but we still take safety precautions. I always say, you know what, maybe meet at our office for a couple of times when you go for your walk, or maybe meet at your corner store or something, until you build a relationship with that volunteer and you get to know them and you're comfortable with them. And then if you want them to meet you at your home, that's your choice. But we always recommend that, you meet at a park or somewhere close by home that you have familiarity with. Any questions on that part?
I think
How many hours can you be with them?
Well, again, that depends on you and the volunteer. So when somebody sends me, I get them to send me an email or say, what are you looking for in a volunteer? Are you looking for 2 hours a week? Are you looking for evening days? And then I try to match you up with somebody who will match with that type of schedule. So it's between you and the volunteer what you decide to work with. But in the beginning, what I do is I try to get you matched up with somebody best suited to your need. Anything else? Any other questions in that?
When it comes to skiing or snowboarding or anything like that, do you have people that are able to help someone up at the mountain?
Sorry, say that again.
With skiing or snowboarding and stuff like that, with Mount Washington, like I grew up going to the mountain all the time, and since I've lost my sight, I can't go. Are there people in places like that would be able to help you, like if I wanted to get on skis again?
So that would be through the other organization who services that. That is, what are they called? Adaptive Snow Sports. So if you contact Adaptive Snow Sport, they should be able to help you.
Okay, thank you.
So often if you find somebody who's willing to do that for you and they don't know anything about working with somebody who is blind or partially sighted, and you need help with them getting to know some of the do's and don'ts, then I'm always happy to come out and help with that. So that's another thing. If you yourself come across a volunteer that you think, oh gosh, I'd like them, but they really don't know anything about the sport or how to work with me, you can always call me and I'll book some time with you to go and help you and the volunteer get yourselves underway and do things properly and with respect to each other.
Oh, that's so cool. Could it even be like one of my parents? Like myself, I'm 35.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good information.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you an idea of some of the programs we have that you guys might be interested in, because you're already connected to Zoom, we have 3 programs that we do weekly. One is a chair yoga class. That happens on Sundays at 6 p.m. and Thursdays at 12 noon. We also have a Fitness with Brian. That's on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, Thursdays at 7 o'clock. And we have what's called a Dragon Boat Fitness program. And so it was designed for dragon boaters, but it's open to everybody. And it's just some fitness movements and another form of a fitness class. You can be at any level you want. It's not a high performance program. They're all from beginner to, some of them are more active than others, but we've set it up so that anybody can do these programs. So if anybody's interested in those programs, you're welcome to join them. So how BC Blind Sports operates is through our membership. So our membership year is April 1st to March 31st. It's $15 per person. And with that $15, you can join any of our programs and as many as you want. The other online program we have is called BC Active Living Alliance Network. So with that program, it's all blind and partially sighted people on that program. There are no sighted people on that program. And how it works is Marilyn Rushton is the facilitator for that program. I oversee it. So what would happen is I send out the invitation, but Marilyn runs the program online. And how that works is you submit your hours weekly. So let's say you walk to the mailbox, you walked up and down the stairs to the basement. You just keep track of your steps. It doesn't have to be exact. You send your steps into Marilyn and she calculates everybody's steps. Then what they do is they pick a place to go. So I think in the beginning they went to Hawaii. So how many steps does it take to get from Vancouver to Hawaii? And they calculated all that. And they have a couple of people who are really good with geography and can do that. And so it's a lot of fun. On that program, we also have guest speakers. So we had a physiotherapist, Derek, come on, and he was talking about balance, hiking, what things to look for when you're hiking, and about balance, and when you're carrying your backpack, things like that. We had Jane Blaine, who did a piece on body parts. So the movements of bodies. So there were some people on there, they'd been totally blind their whole life. And there were some questions that they had that were very interesting because they've never had sight. They've never been taught certain parts of the body that they had, and they were learning. So it's quite an interesting group, and it's a lot of fun. So, if that intrigues you. Now they meet, I think, about once a month or once every 6 weeks. So it's not a huge commitment, but they meet once or twice, sometimes twice a month, depending on what's happening. So those are all programs that would be really good for you guys because you're on Zoom and a lot of you are doing a lot of activities already. If you live in the Nanaimo area, we do have an in-person class. So that happens on Mondays where you can actually go to the class and do the program. We have one in Kelowna and we're working on one in Vancouver, but we haven't gotten that one set up yet. All our instructors are certified and they are all paid positions. They are not volunteer. So that's pretty much how we work.
Do you guys send out emails with all this information?
We do. We send out emails with all this information, and you become a member and you get all that.
I'll get all the information, and she can email it to me, and then I forward it to everyone. This way we can get, this way she can send me one letter, and then that's how right, Sue, if after this you can send me some information, I can share it with everyone.
Yes, I can send you that information for all the Zoom programs.
Oh, perfect.
And the in-person program.
Oh, yeah.
We are doing, for those that live in Kelowna, we're doing a Come and Try It Day in Kelowna on May 3rd. So if you know somebody in the Kelowna area, and if they have a sighted partner or whatever, and they want to come and learn about lawn bowling, they can register with me to do that. And Nancy, I'll send you that as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. Nothing in Victoria at all for our seniors?
Well, we did have
Nothing's happening.
we had a dragon boat team in Victoria before the pandemic, but they didn't come back after the pandemic. We also at one time had a in-person fitness class. Again, the numbers drop, but if that were to become an interest for people in Victoria, and I have 5 or 6 people that are interested in an in-person class, and we can restart that up again as well. And so what that would do is I would need to find a location, an instructor who we pay, who is certified, and then we would invite you as members of BC Blind Sport to that program. So I know that go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say in Victoria as well, we tried to get a curling group going there. There was a couple of people interested, but when we run all these programs, we also have to find somebody who's willing to do the leadership in it. So like a team manager or somebody who can manage the program, because I can't be at every program at all times. So it's always helpful that when you're considering putting a program together or wanting something, that we find somebody who can keep attendance, who can, phone somebody if the class is changed or send out emails and things like that. Any questions on any of that?
Sue, I'm from New Brunswick. I'm from St. John, New Brunswick, East Coast, Canada. And I do meet with others in New Brunswick, because I know we did have blind sports, but it got, and of course because of COVID, it folded, and I'm not sure if it's open.
I'm not familiar. I know Nova Scotia has a program, a Nova Scotia blind sport. New Brunswick, I'm not sure of. I would have to look up. I'll look into that, and then I'll send the information to Nancy, whatever I find. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Does Victoria have a swim team?
A swim team?
Yeah.
What do you mean by a swim team? You mean like a swim club, like joining a swim club?
Yeah.
Blind Sport doesn't have swim clubs anywhere in the province. What we do is we work with you to get into a swim club in Victoria.
Okay.
So what would happen is if you wanted to take swim lessons or something, and you found a rec center that's close to your home, but let's say the instructors or the club not familiar with working with somebody who's blind, then you could call me and say, listen, I'm signing up for these lessons. They don't have a clue what's happening with people who are blind, visually impaired. And I'm happy to intervene and go in and work with the instructors and let them know what you need, what the do's and don'ts are working with somebody who's blind. Sometimes we find people who are blind or partially sighted, it's another hurdle for them. It's another, it's always, they always have to explain themselves and they get tired of it. It's exhausting sometimes. So it's easy if you phone me, and I'm happy to go in and work with them, because I don't mind, saying, listen, you need to do this. This is what needs to be done. I've done it before, and I've had my battles with some programs and communities. But for the most part, for them, it's a learning curve. And sometimes when you're faced with something new, you get nervous and you don't know what question to ask. So sometimes it's good just to have somebody like BC Blind Sport help you and intervene for you.
Yeah, because I grew up competitively swimming and playing water polo, and I would love to get back into it. But when I first lost my sight 5 years ago, they told me there was a swim club, but there was nobody to help me from getting off the bus to getting on the pool deck. So I was just wondering.
So
that's where a volunteer sighted guide might help you. Usually with our program, what we always say is that you need to be able to independently get from your home to the rec center. And hopefully from the rec center, we can either find you a volunteer that will walk you into the rec center, into the change room, you do your changing, get whatever, then they walk you onto the pool deck.
Okay.
And so that's where we would try to find a volunteer for you to do that specific thing. It would not be the volunteer's responsibility to drive you home from the rec center.
No.
to make sure, to walk you to the bus stop, yeah, that's great. If you develop a relationship with the volunteer and they offer to drive you home, that's up to you. So that's kind of where it's kind of a gray area, but yeah, that's how we typically work. And even with our dragon boat programs, we have 4 dragon boat programs. We did have one in Victoria, and I am trying to start another one in Victoria. Usually what we do with dragon boating, I always tell we have 2 teams over by Falls Creek in Vancouver. So what I do is I say, if you can get to the Main Street SkyTrain station, we'll have one of the team members come and get you and walk you in, because Falls Creek is a very busy area, and maneuvering around there is not that easy. Some can do it and some just struggle with it. So we do help out as much as we can. Yeah. Any other questions?
There's a question I'm going to ask. I have a pool downstairs, and I cannot get anyone to come down with me and go teach me how to swim and everything. And I've been here for 22 years. Do you know how many times I've been downstairs? And not because it's free. I mean, no one's down there. It's always empty when I go to the gym and everything else. I go, well, if I can learn how to swim, but I can't find anyone that would take me down there. I can go down there, but I just need someone to teach me how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that,
and so
you don't have to worry about public places. It's
right. And so that would mean hiring a private swim instructor if you want to swim, and that can be costly. If there was a volunteer in your area that was willing to, if you just want somebody to teach you some of the movements in swimming and stuff. And
yeah, that's like exercise. Yeah, that's all I want is the exercise in the water.
That would require going into, looking for a volunteer that could do that. But
you get this pool, you can't get to use it. Well, I mean, it was fun when the kids were here, but Mom, I'm busy. Okay, another day, and if someone wants to go downstairs, let me know.
Yeah.
But,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's all about finding a volunteer that worked with your schedule. And again, if you wanted somebody to properly teach you how to swim, yeah, you might find somebody who's willing to do that voluntarily, but chances are you might have to pay for a private instructor.
That's really good. No, it's good to know that there's dragon boats around. Is there a dragon boat still in Victoria?
No, but I am trying to start it. The issue that I'm having in Victoria is that I need to find a team leader, like somebody who's willing to lead the program. So what they would do is make sure the attendance is taken, that, that the warm-ups get done, the practices are set up and things like that. And they would work with me on budget, and I would do sighted guide training for the whole team. So, yeah, if you're interested in dragon boating, please register so that I have your name and contact information, so that when I am putting it together, I can.
There was a question. And you said you do yoga too? Was that true? I don't know if I heard that.
Well, we have a chair yoga program online.
Oh, chair yoga. Okay.
Yeah, and so they do all. Candace is very good. She does lots of different movements and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched the people on TV at 6:30 in the morning. My problem is I don't hear properly, and I'm deaf too, and I feel like I have to carry my phone with me and put it beside my neck. But then, I kind of go right to the TV to listen, and I put the volume up, but it just, did she say breathe in? Did she say hold it? Like I said, what? Then I get mixed up, and I, get a glass of water because I really didn't hear what she said.
Well, you're always welcome to try our program and see if you like it.
Okay.
See if it's something you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to go to Collingwood House, and that's how I met. I think I met you first time, but we had a fella there with all of us, Amy, and everyone was there. Oh my God! And then after that, it went down. I don't know what happened after. Maybe he retired. Willie, I can't remember his name.
Was that with Godfrey?
At Collingwood House.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And he taught me about the chair and sitting on the table just to do exercise at home, and like. I'm still scared of going outside because after I got hit by a car, but having exercise at home, it was just simple. Get a can of corn or whatever and sit and hold a chair and put your knee up. And that made me feel, I still can do that every morning, right?
Yeah.
Just one SkyTrain down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm a part of the Saanich Peninsula Accessibility Advisory Committee, and it's a new thing as of, I think it's September or January, that every district of British Columbia has to have this organization, accessibility. And I know in my area, all of our recreation centers, they have somebody involved in it too. So I think in the next little while, accessibility at rec centers and things like that might become a bit more available or even open to hearing things because they have to be accessible.
Sure. So if you ever have a meeting with your group and you want Blind Sport to do a presentation on, how we can help, then we're happy to do that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that goes for any group like this group. We want to be able to, because we don't know you guys exist unless we get referred or somebody comes to us and says, hey, we're looking for this.
Mm-hmm.
So just, we have to partner with different organizations and groups so that we can get our word out there and let people know what's available to them.
I don't know if there's many elsewhere, but I know even on the peninsula, we have the White Cane Club as well.
Yes, there's a few White Canes. There was a few delegates here at the Canadian Council of the Blind conference, that they had a few White Cane Club representatives here.
Oh.
Anything else I can help with, or?
So, is there any tricks and tips that we can get today from you that that we're sitting at home today and getting us motivated, even though it's a rainy day outside?
Well, with that,
what do you think?
Don't think of it as exercise. Think of it as movement. Think of it as, what, I'm gonna go and get the mail, and that's movement. So just, if you're sitting watching TV and you're thinking, you reach your hand to the sky and stretch your fingers, put your foot out and do circles with your foot. Just, movement is important. And that doesn't mean you have to run the mile in 10 seconds. That just means move, stretch out, put your hands on the table and stretch your hands out. Just, run your hand across the table and see how far you can stretch. So just things like that at home. I mean, all of you sound like you're doing something, and that's all good stuff. So I think you guys all really have a good start. I think for your group, I think the BC Active Living Alliance group would be really fun for you. And I'll send that information on to Nancy.
Yeah, and this is all on Zoom, and it's $15 a year, right?
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
and it's any age. Well, maybe I'll get my cat beside me, but get someone to help me watch the show so I can listen to it. And all I need is a chair.
Yeah.
Got that. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. And is there anyone else would like to ask? Robin, would you like to ask a question? Jill?
Jill?
No, not really. I do my own, and since I'm not blind, and I don't know how much Robin can do. He's not very active.
Not very good with the dog either. We'll all end up in the kitchen.
But like I said, she said just stretch out, put your feet up and make circles and stretch your hand. That's a start. That's movement right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about movement.
Yeah, even making your bed, making that bed, you're moving your body, right?
Yes.
Bending down, putting your sockets on. That's all movement.
Yeah, putting the socks on is a problem.
Yeah. And
it's a challenge.
Always remember to, I'm not a huge water drinker, but I do sip on water throughout the day. So, have a glass of water nearby. And just, again, I'm not a huge water drinker, but I do sip on it just so that, you have a little sip of water every now and then, because you are moving and you are doing exercise and your body needs that little bit of replenishment of water. So,
and I do I have a problem with breathing, and I'm always in a hurry, and I've got to slow down and breathe in, breathe out, and it just my throat is always dry, and I thought, what am I doing? And then I don't like water myself, but
yeah,
I just want to keep
water. Just have a glass of water and sip. You don't have to drink a whole glass all at once. Yep.
Brandon, do you have anything to say?
No, I don't have any questions or nothing. I'm in Alberta, so I would go to Alberta Blind soon, but are you associated with Alberta Blind Sports, or is that like totally
Yes,
separate?
we're familiar with Alberta Blind Sports. I know Linda, who is the executive director. So yeah.
Cool. That was an awesome presentation from Susan Flanagan, BC Blind Sports. Thanks for listening to the COBD Events Podcast. Have a good day.